You're listening to Rodney Rogers Outdoors Radio, where we turn it upside down and look at the outside from the inside out. It's safe, it's legal, and we're having a blast. So put your shoes on, my friend, because we're going outdoors.
Welcome to Rodney Rogers Outdoors. I'm Rodney Rogers. That right there is my partner, Coach Easton Crime, Mike, the man himself, Coy.
How you doing, Rodney?
I am well, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited about tonight's episode.
We made it through the weekend.
Episode, yeah.
We're live.
Fairly unscathed too.
Fairly unscathed. No snake bites. No alligator bites. That's probably more important than. So we're going to talk about our weekend, obviously, here shortly. If you want to check us out, you can check us out on RodneyRogersOutdoors.com. You can see the live video and audio at the same time. If you're listening on iTunes, if you have Twitter, you can tweet us questions directly straight to hashtag RROR, and we'll read your question online. As well as if you go to RodneyRogersOutdoors.com, there's a little icon there on the side that says send your question. So you can send us an audio question directly to the show. Pow, we can get it right there. Or, last but not least, you can give us a call, 262-345-7763, and ask us your outdoor question directly. Comment, say something, tell us what you did over the weekend.
Yeah,
Not
please.
really. You don't have to do that.
Please
do that.
tell us.
Anyway, so, Mike, I don't have to ask you how your weekend was, 'cause I know exactly how it was.
You know quite in detail.
Your wife let me scoop you up from Boca Raton.
I feel like we went on a vacation.
It did. Actually, we talked about that.
Yeah.
We were like, man, this feels like something. This should not be right.
Yeah.
We let your wife work.
Yeah, I'm just settling. We got so much going on here tonight.
Okay, let me get this out of the way.
Get it out of the way because we got stuff to do and things
I
to
am
talk
wearing
about.
my bracelet from NicoleWayne.com that I wore all weekend and absolutely loved it. And
Yeah, it was funny because go ahead. Sorry,
but I accidentally wore it to work.
I'm really good at interrupting.
I wore it to work Monday, and I got a lot of compliments at work.
Did you?
I did. So I was like, hey, NicoleWayne.com. So check it out. She does custom jewelry. Make sure if she throws a shoe in here, it's directed at you. So I want to make sure it's all right.
Yeah, I think kind of out of. She's have to
Yeah.
throw a boomerang kind of style to get to
Boomerang
you.
shoe to get to me. So check it out. It's amazing jewelry.
12th year in business
12th.
this month.
Congratulations.
12th year in
to,
business. So she's
Nicole Wayne.
she's put in her dues, and
Yes, she has.
you want some quality stuff and some jewelry that your designer will stand behind.
Yes, actually,
check
she
it
will behind it. I am her test subject. So, gentlemen, if you buy one of these bracelets, I can guarantee you, you can't wear it out. I've had this one 2 years, and I've put it through the ringer, and it looks great. Still looks.
Yeah, if you watch on your footage that we'll be posting here over the next week or so from our weekend this weekend, there's some candid shots or some cameos with the Nicole Wayne bracelet.
Yeah. Some snake cameos.
Nothing goes better than Nicole Wayne jewelry and pythons.
Yeah, nothing says grab a snake quickly like a Nicole Wayne bracelet. So man, I mean, let's just dive into our weekend, Mike.
Let's dive into it.
Unless you got anything else. Mike and I went down to the Everglades for the Python Challenge.
Well, let's be clear though, we didn't go down for the challenge, or did we?
Well, no.
Were we signed up for the challenge?
We were signed up for the challenge. I printed the permit,
Okay.
so we were.
Yeah, and how many times did I ask you this question?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry I'm a slow learner,
Yes.
but
Ask
see if
again.
I've got it.
Okay.
You can kill pythons. They're an invasive species. You can kill the pythons all year round. You do not need a permit
Exactly.
to do so.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. The permit, the only thing the permit really allowed us to do was hunt on Big Cypress Preserve, which you cannot do any other time.
Because a preserve, you mentioned this weekend.
We
Three
talked
things.
about it this
A
weekend.
preserve,
Mm-hmm.
a reserve, And Disney World.
Exactly.
Was that the 3, or did I miss one?
That's pretty close. The last one would be, instead of Disney World, Wildlife Management Area.
Okay, WMAs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and this is a preserve, which means everything on this property is preserved. You cannot take flowers. You cannot cut trees. You cannot move limbs. You cannot swim in the water that I was going to do. You cannot do anything. You technically cannot get off the beaten path. So it is a preserve. Everything on that property, that 500,000 acres, is protected. Every bird, every lizard, everything. So
It's pristine. Leave it where it's at.
leave it where it's at, with the exception of invasive species. If you see it, grab it. You can't get off the beaten path again. Remember that. So everything is protected.
So you can kill them all year round. And once you, speaking specifically of pythons,
Yes.
once you capture it, you have to kill it or turn it in alive to designated areas
Yes.
where you can turn them in.
Yes. It was, there was, last year, people couldn't kill it. They wanted to turn it in alive. So this year, they allowed them to turn it in alive from certain areas. So if you caught one on the Big Cypress Preserve, it had to be killed immediately. It could not come back alive. They didn't want it to get away. Once you got it, you got to kill it. And some of the other ones, the wildlife management areas, you could actually catch it alive. Then you had to do the process. You had to bag it and then bag it again and put it in a secure box.
And the best means of killing it is decapitation?
The best means of killing it, whatever stops it from moving, but decapitation, yes.
But because there are certain areas you can't fire your gun.
That's exactly
like within a certain distance of the highway.
Exactly. If you're on the side of the highway, you cannot fire your gun. The only thing you can do is hack their heads off or whatever, break their back. Pick a vertebrae. There's only 765,000 vertebrae. So
I've got a picture up of the gator.
Okay.
So
which one?
The one sitting on the side of the road.
Oh, okay. So the picture you're seeing now. Oh, I don't see it, right?
No.
Okay. We haven't quite got that far. The picture you're seeing now is actually of one of the alligators that we saw. And I'm going to tell you, Mike, if you had to guess on how many alligators we saw this weekend in the Everglades, what would you say? Just a rough shot, maybe more than 100?
Yeah, I would say 100 to 125 probably.
Okay. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that ranged from 3 foot was probably the smallest one, of which we only probably saw one of those, up to the 12.5 footer that we saw toward the end of the day. Now, Mike and I, we kind of were selfish on this trip. We don't get these opportunities to film in these areas like this. So we took, Mike took his high dollar expensive equipment to get some really what we in the film industry call B-roll footage. So basically, we got some alligators jumping in the water. We got some birds flying off. We got some snakes. We got some of this. We got some of that. And we can put those on just about any outdoor video, Florida video, that, we can build something out of that. And we've got a lot of what Mike hit on the money is some really money footage.
Yeah, some really good shots.
And some really good shots of a 12.5-foot alligator that we were literally ended up at about 50 from the road. So I decided to take some pictures. And voila, I got what I think is a really cool picture. The angle of the dangle, it just all worked out. So it was absolutely awesome. We also got, my gosh, Mike, we just got so much.
Well, you did get your hands on a snake. Why don't you describe that briefly?
Okay, so we got to this canal. Mike, we look over the edge, and we're just so excited to look into the water. We walk away from a snake that's just, right in the water. So Mike looks over and goes, "Hey, Rodney, here's a snake. What is this?" So I look over, and I said, it's a water snake, Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, that's the pattern on it is kind of weird. It's not like the water snake I've seen, but it's got to be a water snake. It just looks like a water snake. So it swam off. I was going to catch it anyway, but it swam off. So we went to looking, and I saw another one, but a lot lighter. The color of it was real light. And so I looked at it, and I said, "Mike, well, we got a python here. We got what I thought was a rock python.
Right.
So I actually Googled rock python, and man, the patterns were so similar that when you're in the field and your excitement's going, you see a rock python. I mean, you see it. That's just what it is.
Right.
So as I was leaning over trying to ascertain if I'm going to jump off this bridge and onto this snake, the bridge, I don't know, what was that bridge, built in the 20s maybe?
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
It had this rickety metal handrail, and it jumped forward on me when I had my hand on it, and I almost went head over heels, and the snake ran off. So we missed our opportunity at that one. So then you were looking around, and you come running at me. We got one in the tree. We got one in the tree. And I'm like, man, this is definitely a python because it's in a tree, all the characteristics. This is it. So I got the GoPro on my head, and you're filming, and went over there, and we got this thing. Now, the way it swung around, and its mouth opened, it was bone white. I said, oh, man, we got a cottonmouth.
Yep.
You know, I thought for sure we had a cottonmouth. And turns out it was, you know, we get there and we get the snake, and I'm in the video, and I'm going, man, we got this rock python. How exciting! We're shooting footage, and then I'm feeling the snake, and I'm going, man, just something not right about this. I just don't think this is a python. It looks like it, the head is like it, but the scales are just not python scales. So we did a little more research and found out that we, in fact, what we had was a brown water snake that we don't have in the Central Florida area. We have the banded water snakes, and then they're sort of similar, but they're a lot different. Heads are different. I mean, it's just there's quite a bit of different snakes. So I had to make a rebuttal video.
But you did. You did
Yeah.
the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I made a rebuttal video and basically said, look, we thought we had a rock python, when in fact, I'd caught the water snake. So I was honestly, I love catching snakes.
It was exciting either way. And for a second there, Rodney,
yeah,
we had a python.
You know what? We were high-fiving. We were python hunters, man.
The feeling we were sharing
was a python.
Was a python.
So we know what it's going to be like when we find a python, Mike.
I don't care how big it was. We had a python.
It was a, by gosh, python.
Until the internet told us differently, we had a python.
You know what? They say the internet's not always right, but in this case, it was absolutely dead on the money.
That was funny, though.
As soon as we saw when you looked up that what you went on the app. What app was that?
It was the FWC app.
Okay, so it was the FWC app.
Well, actually, it was the I've Got One app.
I've Got One app. That's the one.
Yeah.
And basically, it's invasive species, and it's an awesome app. And if you don't necessarily have to catch it. If you see an odd snake,
yeah, exactly.
All you have to do is
first of all, it's not only invasive species. It's just Florida wildlife.
Native species.
It's divided by native and invasive species, and it's plants, it's snakes, it's birds.
Yeah.
It's divided up. But not only that, you can also drill down and see a map of where people have caught or identified or pinpointed these
and that's
species,
what we did.
whatever.
Yeah.
And you could see where the concentration of pythons have been located.
Right.
And at least reported. It's just a phenomenal app. So download it. It's a free app. It is put out by the FWC, but it's called I've Got One.
Yeah.
And
amazing app.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Keep it in your pocket. Keep it on your iOS or your Android device. And
yeah. So we're going to put the footage of this thing together, and we're going to put it up on. My gosh, we'll put it up on our website, RodneyRogersOutdoors.com. You'll also see it on our YouTube channel. Real quick, in 2 weeks, for those of you that know Salt Strong, if you go to saltstrong.com or you look them up on YouTube, you'll see Joe up there. And Joe and his brother, who is named, or Luke and Joe, they're brothers, they'll actually be on our show on the 16th. They're going to call in, and we're going to do an interview with them on the 16th.
that'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a blast. I just saw, I watched them fishing with the fluke master out of Georgia this weekend. So, I mean, these are just guys, big, YouTube guys, big,
They're fun.
the outdoor guys.
They're fun.
Is
I've
what
been
we
listening
do.
to their podcast as well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of throw out there they'll be on our show in a couple of weeks. Not next week, but the week following.
I love it.
It'll be awesome, the
I love it.
16th. So stay tuned for that.
Do you want to talk about some current news?
Let's do it, Mike.
Some top stories. What do you got? You got stuff?
You go first.
Well, let's start with we talk about the openings and closing. Snook reopens in the Atlantic
Yesterday.
state waters yesterday. You're correct.
Yes.
Well, then why am I telling you if you already know?
Because everybody
Mr.
out here
know-it-all
out there wants to listen.
Yeah. So they opened yesterday on February 1st. Happy February, by the way. In Florida's Atlantic coast and inland waters, including Lake Okeechobee and the Kissimmee River. The season remains open through May 31st. Snook.
And I'll tell you, I never made it to that Snook Symposium. It was a whole day event, and I thought it was just, a couple-hour event. And I could not stay the whole day, so I missed that Snook Symposium. So I'm actually downloaded it to watch it, in parts. Basically what they're doing is saying, they want to figure out how many snook are out there. And I'll tell you, there's a lot. So if you've never snook fished, stay tuned. We're going to do some tricks. We have a paddleboard that we're going to be fishing off of for snook this summer.
That'll be interesting.
It's going to be awesome.
Did I hear you say you're going to Lake Kissimmee this weekend?
Yes, we'll be fishing Lake Kissimmee for our next tournament that's in 2 weeks.
Okay. Hydrilla treatment scheduled for Lake Kissimmee. Heads up.
When is that?
Let's see. I'm glad you asked, Rodney. I think you're safe. Oh, this is released. Let's see. The conservation treat portions of Lake Kissimmee and Osceola County for hydrilla in the first week of February.
Okay, so
That's
week.
now. Now, why is this a big deal, Rodney?
Well,
Tell me
here's the
about
deal.
hydrilla.
Especially, hydrilla is just basically clogs up the water systems. I mean, it literally, it clogs up your boats. It ruins motors. It just does, and it clears out the water. It does a good job of clearing up the water. But the problem is it actually, when you catch fish in a pond with no vegetation, they grow 30% larger than a lake or pond with a lot of vegetation.
Oh, interesting.
Because here's the reason. Not only can the big fish hide, so can the bait fish. So it's a lot harder for them to get the bait fish. That's why fish school. Their natural ability is to school. So when they're in a pond with no vegetation, 30 bass can get around 10 million bait fish, and they all eat at the same time.
It just kills the whole ecological system of the water, doesn't it?
It really puts a hurting on it. So
and it is an invasive species.
It is an invasive
species. It's
species.
an invasive exotic aquatic plant spread easily by boats through the states, lakes, and rivers. It clogs waterways. I think Rodney just said that. They're copying you, Rodney. Plagiarism.
No, they need
Making recreational activities difficult or impossible and chokes out beneficial native plants. Managing and treating is necessary for the health of Florida waters.
That's
It will
exactly
treat
right.
1,689 acres by airboat with Aquathol K and
Yeah.
Galleon.
What happens with that is it's not poisonous to the fish, or that we know of yet.
Yeah, it says it has no restrictions for fishing and swimming. So if you want to swim in the Kissimmee Lake while you're there, too.
But fish
Have
are
at it.
very susceptible. It's just like smog. It's just you can breathe, but you don't like it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you'll move out of that area. You'll get on down the road. You'll move to an area that has less of that chemical. With the water flow that we've got in there, it'll probably go out pretty quick. But if you're on the fish in that area, this is going to change that. So fishing this weekend for us is going to be affected by that.
Sure.
So if we find the fish in the area, they won't be there come tournament time. They will have moved out. You see what I'm saying?
It'll affect it drastically, won't it?
Yeah, it'll affect it drastically. It'll push most of the fish out of there. It won't kill them. They'll just get uncomfortable and they'll move
It's going to
along.
upset them.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're in the Apopka area this weekend,
Apopka?
yep, you can join for free fun at the Apopka Wildlife Festival and Birdpalooza.
Not the Birdpalooza.
Birdapalooza, yeah.
Wow.
That is going on this weekend for free birding tours, live entertainment, exhibitors, and much, much more at the 4th annual Birdapalooza.
Mike, on a serious note, this weekend, how exciting was it to see a bird we've never seen before? You know the bird that I go, what is that?
Oh, yeah. It was a penguin, wasn't it?
It looked like a daggone penguin. We actually ascertained it was definitely a penguin, all the way up until it flew off. But it was a cool looking bird that I've never seen. So bird watching is awesome. I mean, if you're not an outdoors person, you're like, what can I do to start? Grab some binoculars and
We've talked about them many times, and
Yeah.
when I read this, this weekend flashed back because the birds were phenomenal. We saw some really cool birds, and we got some great footage. Some great B-roll, as you like to call
some
it.
B-roll.
Yeah.
That was our joke for the weekend.
So yes, that's happened up at Orange County's Magnolia Park on Binion Road in Apopka. So check that out.
Check it out.
Speaking of things you had, and Todd says the hydrilla is really bad. He says the more you cut it, the more it spreads.
That's exactly right.
It's like picking a bad rash.
What you got now? You got something?
Picking a bad rash, you get it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you got it.
Here, we got it.
Tell them about your croc.
That's what I was about to talk about.
Let's talk about the croc. Speaking of things we hadn't seen.
So I have been down to the Everglades over the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Probably safe to say 15, 20 times maybe. Is that kind of the right number, you think, Mike? I've been down there a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I told Mike and I are leaving, and I'm like, Mike, you know what's disappointing? All the trips down here, I've never seen the wild Florida American crocodile. And no sooner, literally within a mile of me getting that out of my mouth, I hit the brakes, and I go, oh, my God, Mike. And he goes, what's that? I said, I just seen a crocodile. And you were like, no way. That's exactly what, no way. I said, dude, I'm telling you.
And then you hear,
We hit the brakes. We're on the side of the road, and sure enough, we run back. Mike grabs the camera, and there's a 10-plus foot crocodile sitting on a huge rock. And when we first saw him, he's got his mouth open. He's just sunning, radiating. When their mouth is open, what they're doing is letting heat out.
Yeah, and I kept saying, are you sure this isn't a prop that the rednecks just put out there?
This thing was not moving.
Yank on the tourists.
I mean, it was frozen like you didn't.
Literally. I mean, it was
Oh,
just, I was like, it's fake.
Everybody thought it was fake, didn't they?
It just looked totally fake.
And Mike's got the camera set up, and this thing is just frozen. And finally, it decided to adjust on the rock, and it couldn't get comfortable, and it finally just slid in the water. You know, and once it was in that water, you could see how big the rock really was.
Yeah, and you pointed out very distinctly, and as I watched the footage, you could see those differences, especially on the tail. Those, what'd you call them, flaps?
Yep.
They come up
they're
high.
derms, yeah.
They stick out.
Yep, way more than.
And of course, on the mouth,
Yep.
when it's shut, you can just see all the teeth, and you don't see that on a gator.
An alligator, exactly right. You see both sets, top and bottom, all at the same time. Didn't he have some pearly whites? I mean, you look at that picture there, he's got some
one or
pearly
two.
whites.
And the shape of the nose, isn't it more pointy rather than blunted off?
Absolutely.
Maybe?
Yeah, he's a little more rickety and pointy than.
But
and he was just a handsome guy, man. That made my weekend. Absolutely love seeing that alligator. That
got some
just made my weekend.
really good footage.
So yeah, so that was awesome. What else did we see that to the state of Florida? And guess what? Also Louisiana. Yes.
Really?
So yeah, so you have them there as well. So yeah,
So they are native.
They are native. It's called the American crocodile.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't get that.
Is it
confused.
just Louisiana and Florida?
Yep, Florida and Louisiana. Yep, that's exactly right. As they know. I mean,
Okay.
could be in South Georgia. I doubt it.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, but most likely, not most likely, but definitely Louisiana and Florida. So the southern states. Who knows? Texas may have one scrolling around.
Oh,
Yes.
they probably wander off. Let's read. Let me read to you the law enforcement story of the week.
That's what I'm waiting on.
All right, and then we'll do some commercials and we'll get back to it. But listen to this one, Rodney. Again, when I read these things, it brings up more questions because I like to learn things.
Yes.
Have you noticed that?
I do, Mike. I've noticed that about you. You're a learner.
When I was younger, not so much.
Yeah.
As
Now
I get
so
older,
much.
I'm like, maybe I do like to learn things.
Maybe I'd like to learn.
But this says Lieutenant Williams was on land patrol in Dixie County. Where's Dixie County at?
Steenahatchee.
Okay.
It's the Steenahatchee
Okay.
area.
I know where that's at, actually.
That's where William Culliver, the books I read, one of his books called, the Dawn book is.
I don't think he called it the Dawn book.
No, go ahead.
Okay, you'll
I'll
think
think
it. But listen, because this one's good.
Gotcha.
So he was on patrol in Dixie County when he located 4 hunters leaving a secluded piece of private property. During initial contact with the hunters, they indicated that they had only killed 2 ducks and a buck deer.
2 ducks and a buck.
2 ducks and a buck.
1 buck for 2 ducks. Sorry.
2 ducks and a buck walking to a bar. During a search of the hunter's vehicle, Lieutenant Williams located 2 wood ducks, 2 gobbler turkeys, an illegal spike deer, and additional fresh meat with no sex evidence present. So, stopping there, why is the sex evidence important, Rodney?
When you kill an animal, any animal in the state of Florida that is, with the exception of coyotes or varmint of that sort, you have to have the animal's head and sex still attached to the animal. You can gut it, you can field dress it, you can do whatever, but you better have the head and the sex part of that animal so they can tell exactly what it is.
Interesting.
So odds are they probably shot a doe. And the spike, they most likely didn't know what the laws were in that area, which is 2 points on one side and at least 10 inches. So, they obviously didn't know what the law was.
So the operator of the vehicle originally stated that the quartered deer with no sex evidence was a 6-point that another hunter had killed.
Yeah.
Now, that's a problem too, I'm assuming, right? If I've got a
Nope.
deer or is that fine?
It's fine, but whoever killed that deer and you're transporting it, you got to have their info.
Okay.
So
They need to, somebody's taking responsibility.
somebody's got to take it. And where's the head if it's a 6-point?
Okay. Further interviews resulted in the operator confessing to killing
A doe.
a doe deer.
Pegged it right on the head.
You did, nailed it. Citations were issued for taking doe deer, taking illegal antlered deer, and a warning issued for taking the 2 turkeys out of season.
A warning?
A warning issued for taking. So I guess you can take turkeys out of season and only get a warning.
Wow. That was a very lenient.
They got off easy,
officer.
didn't they?
That because remember, turkeys are federal.
Oh yeah.
They fall under the federal guide.
Okay.
So I'm surprised they got a warning for that.
But it says a 300 Weatherby Magnum rifle, and
Okay.
both deer were seized as evidence. So I
Oh,
guess
okay.
he said, "I'm getting a rifle out of this.
Right.
I'll let you off
he
on the
took
turkey."
their stuff. I show you. I assure you that will hit the chopping block. So wow, yeah, that's a bad deal. He shot 2 gobblers. That's wow.
It's interesting, isn't
Yeah,
it?
It is interesting.
I love that stuff. Just reading that paragraph again. This is the FWC puts out, I think it's biweekly, of the law enforcement story of the week. But this is you'll spend a couple hours if you wanted to read the whole thing. And right on our homepage of the Rodney Rogers Outdoors website
Right.
are links to all of this goodness.
Did you see where they put your triggerfish story up on the Facebook?
Oh, did they?
With the pictures and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, really?
I tagged you in it so you could see
Okay.
the triggerfish and
Okay.
the whole episode.
Well,
yeah.
I got a message saying Rodney mentioned you in a post, and I read the whole triggerfish story and didn't see my name, so
Yeah.
I bailed.
Bailed out. Said I'm out of here.
But yeah, go to the homepage of the Rodney Rogers and subscribe to that. It comes to your emails or your text
it's
or however you
pretty
want it. But it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, let's take a break, Rodney, and
Let's
let
do it.
our contractors, Phillips,
Phillips.
our sponsors. This segment brought to you by Phillips Contracting.
With 116,000 foreclosures in the state of Florida alone as of January 2014, a quality contractor is critical to the process of returning a foreclosed house back into a home. Let me introduce you to Phillips Contracting Incorporated. They are Florida State certified and an approved REO repair vendor for both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. PCI currently provides multi-level services to realtors, banks, asset managers, and private homeowners. Although they specialize in dealing with REO property repairs, they are a design-build company.
Here at PCI, we pride ourselves on professional, high-quality work. Our clients know that we're not your typical contractor. We're proud to be reliable, trustworthy partners with you. Our repair coordinators are ready to communicate with you honestly and quickly about every aspect of your project. We're here to say yes to our clients.
Phillips Contracting services Florida from Orlando to Miami. Whether you're looking for a quote, repair updates, or just want to talk business, give them a call at 941-483-3800.
Gnarly barley, come see why the whole world's singing.
What are you doing?
Dude, I am writing a song for Gnarly Barley.
I see that, but first of all, I didn't realize you could sing. Second of all, why don't you just tell the people how great the Gnarly Barley is, give them the address, and move on with the show?
Dude, have you ever had their flatbread? Their jalapeno flatbread with the cream cheese on top and the chicken and the special sauce on it. Holy moly. No, wait a minute. Obviously, by the look on your face, you ain't never had that big time Fiesta. Jalapenos, provolone cheese, tomatoes, red onions, and again, Fiesta lime.
Okay, that's it. Shut up, Chuck. We're out of here.
Are you serious?
Come on, we're out of here.
Truly one of Orlando's hidden gems, the Gnarly Barley offers a contemporary selection of bites and brews, serving a mind-blowing selection of craft beers and original mouth-watering menu creations. The Gnarly Barley and its incredibly accommodating staff have created a place that really is difficult to put into words. So do yourself a huge favor and come see why people are singing the praises of the Gnarly Barley.
Oh, my goodness.
I told you that big time Fiesta.
That is phenomenal. I totally get why you're trying to write a song for that.
Not as simple as you thought, huh?
No. Okay, check this out. Gnarly Barley.
Come see why the whole town's singing
Gnarly Barley. Buy some brews.
Located at 7431 South Orange Avenue in Orlando, Florida.
Welcome back. You are listening to Rodney Rogers Outdoors. Mike and Rodney. Michael the Man Cohen and Rodney Rogers Outdoors. What do you think? Mike, we got letters?
It's catchy. Have we got letters?
Yeah, do we got any letters?
You've got mail.
Letters. We get letters. We get stop. Whoa, yes. Wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
Send me an email with all the details.
Another freaking email. Another freaking email song.
Mail time. Mail time. The mail's here.
Yeah, I'm a top flight. Hold you tight. Get you there by daylight. Bring you right overnight mail.
My favorite part of the show right there.
Yes, sirree, Bob.
So we got
Yes,
mail.
sirree,
Let's
Bob.
answer.
We got mail. Okay, our first mail comes from Russell from Punta Gorda. Says, I really enjoyed your show last week, Rodney, on fishing tournaments. What are the requirements to fish a tournament, and how do I find out what tournaments are available for someone who has never fished in a tournament?
I'll tell you what, in most areas, there's local bass clubs. So just Google local bass club in your area, and you'll find a local bass club. It's important to read the rules and regulations for each tournament because they will vary. They'll vary on what type of boat you can have, what type of fish you can catch, how big the fish has got to be, you know, and there's a ton of information. So start by Googling the local bass clubs in your area. You're always going to have a live well, and no matter what fishing tournament, because you have to keep the fish alive. So a live well, you're going to need a boat. It can be a John boat with a working live well to keep the fish alive. That's not a problem at all. They don't care. Some of them will have a minimum and a maximum motor size. You know, so read their rules and the regulations for that tournament. That's the easiest way to find it. I mean, I've fished tournaments with a cooler as a live well out of a flatback canoe with an 8-horse motor.
Now, tournaments are more than just bass, though, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they can do crappie tournaments. They can do pike tournaments. I mean, there's there's a tournament for every fish out there.
And are there tournaments for different levels of fishermen, or do they not
Yes.
really work that way?
No, they do, actually. I mean, it won't say beginner's bass tournament, but you'll find a local bass club that, you know, a lot of new guys. That's
Okay.
basically where everybody starts.
I would imagine maybe does prize money maybe have a difference on who's participating?
It does, actually.
You're probably not going to get a top dude coming down
for a
to do-
$600 tournament.
to get
no,
a free
that's
lunch at
exactly
McDonald's.
right.
Yeah.
But you do have guys that have mastered their local lakes. Because remember, anytime you excel in bass tournaments, you want to master your local waters.
Sure.
If you can't master your local waters, it's going to be hard to
That's a
master
interesting
the
point.
waters, that you're unfamiliar with.
Interesting.
So that's where you start. So if you want to get in bass tournaments, find your local bass chapter and get cracking.
Okay.
How's that?
Question number 2 says, Rodney, great show, Rodney. Rodney, great
We like
show. He didn't
that.
say it this many times. I'm just repeating that part. He says, this is cool. I both listened to the podcast and watched the video. I'm redoing my flats boat. What is the best product you found for rust stain removal?
Oh, you know what? Walmart sells, now check this out. Walmart sells a fiberglass cleaner. It's a mild acid, and it removes wax and stains from fiberglass. And let me tell you what, it is amazing.
Really?
It's about, I don't know the name. I'll post the name. I'll get it. I'll take a picture, and I'll post the name. Every marine place has it.
Designed for boats, I'm assuming, or at
For
least marketed
fiberglass. That's exactly right.
for boats.
And it's a mild acid, which, if you get it on your hands, it's no big deal. You want to wash it, but use rubber gloves. But let me tell you what, it will clean, even the most stubborn of stains. My boat, I let a buddy of mine borrow my boat once, and it sat in the lake for about 3 weeks, and it turned absolutely green. I had this green algae all the way around. I washed it with everything. Could not get it off. Went and found this mild acid, and in 15 minutes, the boat was absolutely spotless. I had to re-wax it because it takes the wax off as well. So find that stuff. Walmart has it. Excuse me.
Wow.
Ooh, you hear that?
It was
That's a grizzly
backfired.
bear. And any marine store will have that. West Marine will have it. Just tell them you got rust stains on your fiberglass boat, and they'll walk you right to that stuff. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's amazing.
All right, last question, Rodney. This one's a little involved. Bear with me, okay?
I'm in.
This one says, this is from VTX Frenzy. By the way, the last one was from Alvin A. in Coffee, Georgia. One of my favorite towns, Coffee.
I love coffee.
At VTX Frenzy, I've never hunted with a bow before, and this year I'm probably going to get one. I know absolutely zero about bows. He rattles off a bunch of questions. You ready?
Right.
You can bat a few of them down
Let's
and we'll
do
move on. What should I expect to spend on a decent used beginner bow? $300 to $400?
Yes, perfect. That's it.
Should I buy used at all?
Yeah, I would look at used. You can get more bang for your buck, absolutely.
Okay. What are the expenses or maintenances that I can expect?
Mm-hmm. Maintenances are very inexpensive. Waxing your string, making sure you got oils on the pulleys, that kind of thing. There's not a lot of maintenance to a bow, so you're in good shape.
Okay. Other than arrows, what will I?
It's pretty involved. Do your research. You don't want to go off because remember, if you do a bad arrow stick in an animal, he's going to run around with an arrow in him for a while. They live, believe it or not. We've killed deer with arrow broadheads in their hips, so it's got to be miserable for them. So it's important to do your homework, practice, and make ethical shots. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Make your ethical shots. If you can't make the shot, don't shoot. So
The last part he says, that's it. That's all he said.
okay.
He said there's a lot of all over Craigslist, but it's very different and very confusing to me.
Yeah,
So hopefully
yeah.
you've just cleared.
So
some of that up
Craigslist
for
bows are
him.
not bad. Do the research. Pick a bow. Do the research on it, and definitely get some. And certainly send us a question anytime you.
But you wouldn't have a problem purchasing
No.
used.
No,
a
the
great-
bow I have and have had for 12 years, I got used. It's
Okay.
a Matthews. It was normally like $1,200 new, and I got it for $350. And I've had it and killed many deer, and I've still got it and love it. Same string, so.
All right, let's move on. I was kind of a little taken back when you called me the other day and said, "Do you want to tie the knot tonight?" And I'm like, I wasn't sure what that meant, but he quickly brought it back around, and we're going to talk about some knot tying tonight, and this is going to be a first. So, folks, if you're listening on, if you're gathered around the old Victrola radio,
We're gonna,
might wanna move to the television
dealing in
set.
a whole nother level here. So let me adjust my mic. let me. Can you hear me good right there? I'm just kind of.
This is gonna be fun.
I'm just. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get this area freed up for some
activities.
activities.
Or you can do a puppet show.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a puppet show. I'm gonna cut us some lines. So basically, the line that I'm cutting right now is 30-pound test line that's wrapped around everything.
So first of all, what are you showing us? You're telling. Is this a basic knot or this?
Well, I'm gonna show you some basic knots. Knots. These are knots that I use on a regular basis, and these knots cover all the types of fishing that I do. So, and what I'm tying is a mono to braid knot. Everybody wants to know what a good knot for that is. So I'll show you 2 of those knots.
Okay.
That you can use.
That's because typically the leader or the end of it is braided.
Yeah. Well, your braided line goes into your leader. So you don't want those to pull loose. You want the line break before your knot pulls loose.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let me pull out some braided line here. Now I'm using 30-pound, and then I'm using 300-pound braid. I don't, so you can see it, get some kind of visual on it. So what we'll do is what's called a double Albright knot. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So basically, okay. So basically, I'm going to get in right here where you can see. So I'm going to loop the first one. And then I'm going to make a nice big loop out here. Just like this. And then I'm going to loop the mono and do the same thing. So as you can see, I have both of these looped. I'm going to put the loops in one another like this. Now, I'm going to start wrapping.
I got to say, for next time, this is lesson learned. When you were doing a demonstration on knot tying.
Don't use a camouflage shirt?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Can't see it, can you?
Just take your shirt off.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it a little more simpler. Let's do a simple knot. Can you see my monofilament? Yeah, like this. Okay. So here's this is what I taught Brantley. Remember?
I do remember.
Yeah.
Very quickly you did this.
So basically, this is the knot, and I call this my night knot. So this clip's going to be our hook. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take our line and we're going to fold it. We're going to put a fold in it. There's no estimated amount, whatever works. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that right through the eye of the hook. We're going to tie just a simple half hitch knot, and then we're going to take that loop and run our lure right through that loop, and then we're going to tighten it up, just like this. And you can see that it tied real quick. And then, remember, this part that you don't need is called the tag line. So make sure you get a nice little clip on that, give it a tug, and that is the best fishing knot ever. It's easy. It's simple. Would you like me to do it one more time?
Yeah, you should do it one more time.
Okay. There's a name for this knot, and I draws a blank right now.
This is called the draws a blank.
It's called a draws. I call it my night knot because I can do this with my eyes closed. So, basically what we're going to do is we're going to take it. We're going to fold our line right in half. We're going to run that fold.
I'm going to interpret for people on the radio. What he's doing is folding the line in half.
And we're just going to tie a half hitch knot just straight over. And the loop that we have, we're going to run our lure through that loop.
What he's doing now is running the lure through the loop.
And then we're going to tighten that down.
And now he's tightening it down.
And you always, anytime before you cut your tag in, you want to make sure that your line is tight. And because it does slip a little bit, and you don't want to cut your knot and then have it slip loose. And then we'll cut that tag line off with these scissors that my buddy Onyx from Texas gave me. And then voila, there it is. And that is absolutely one of the easiest and strongest knots that you can actually tie on a lure. How awesome is that?
That's pretty amazing.
That's pretty awesome. That beats the fisherman's knot. I use this knot for braided line. It's great for braided line. Now, if you get
what percentage of the time are you tying that knot?
Honestly, 50%.
So that's a go-to.
Yeah, that's literally If I'm fishing with spinner baits, if I'm fishing with crankbaits,
Okay.
I go to this knot.
Okay.
So there's another knot I use on crankbaits. Are you ready for this one? This is called the loop knot. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to tie a half hitch, or we're going to basically start our half hitch. We'll make a loop in the string. Okay? We're going to go around just like this into a half hitch. We're going to put our lure on. Boy, that just went bad. Okay. Commercial break.
Go for it.
So basically, we tied a half hitch in here. We are going to run it right through our lure. We're going to go back through our half hitch loop. We're going to make 2 to 3 turns. I'll do 2. And then we're going to come right back through that loop. Are my fingers in the way?
Nope.
And then we're just going to cinch that down right there. Voila. Now, you can make your loop a lot smaller. I made it big so you can actually see. And what this does, this allows your bait to move freely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So when you're fishing saltwater, the loop knot is actually fantastic for lures. I'm going to do that one more time. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let's do that one more time. This is called a loop knot. And you can use it. I use it for all my stick baits, my crank baits, especially when I'm fishing, in the ocean. So we're going to tie a half hitch. We're going to go around and basically just like you're tying your shoestring. So we have a half hitch here, a loop, and we started the knot. You run it right through the eye of your hook. We're going to go back through, go this way, back through your loop, just like that, around your main string 2 times, 1, 2, and then back through that loop, grab your tag in, and we're just going to pull that tight, just like that. And once you got it tight, give it a little tug, and you can see that it tightened the knot up perfectly. And here we have our lure floating free to let it have all its action. Does that make sense?
That's pretty amazing.
Now, you don't want to use this knot if you have a split ring on your lure. Split ring is just a ring that flows freely on the nose of your lure.
Okay.
If you have just your lure and the eye of the lure, you'll need a loop knot. If you have a split ring, you'll need the night knot.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So those 2 knots
Those 2 knots are absolutely
are
awesome.
must for your arsenal.
A must for your arsenal.
Okay.
Okay? Now, hold on. Let's not get excited. Let me clip this loose. Wham. Man, I wish that black string was not... I wonder if you can see both. Let me try this here. Well, we could tie the knot. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be braided line. So
Yeah.
let me do this. I'll use both monofilaments. Can you see it okay? So we're going to do that again. I'm going to make a loop in both lines. And we're going to put these loops together, just like that. Okay? Oh, sorry. Thinking of a different knot. So we're going to make a loop in both lines. I'm going to do one loop at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right hand string and wrap it inside the loop of my left hand string that I looped, okay? That make sense? And I'm wrapping it on the inside of that loop. And I'm going to pull the tag line of that just nice and snug. Now, you want to wet it when you can. Get some slobber on it. Now, once that's tight, imagine that being braided line, it's going to have a little slide to it. Oh, that's too much slide. Man.
It's electric.
Electric. Okay. I'm probably confusing everybody. This is a double Albright braid to monofilament. Got a loop. Just do a couple, so we won't go that many. Just for purpose 1, 2. I'll just do 2. And we're going to tighten the loop up on the string that I wrapped, just like this. Now, my right string, I'll do the same thing. And I'll wrap that one around. Am I getting out of sight there?
Back up just a hair. There you go.
1, 2. I'm going to do it just for those purposes. This is a double Albright, and I'll tighten that one down. As you can see, I kind of went too far. loop it one more time. This is a fiasco, isn't it?
Now, is the type of line you're using making a difference? Because
It is.
You've changed it up now.
Yeah, because I'm
for visibility.
I should be
visibility
doing
purposes.
braided. So let me tighten that up just like that. So now, once you have these two, you can pull them up against each other.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There we go. And that ain't. Yeah, the monofilament. I'd never tried it with monofilament. It's not going to work. That's a braid to mono line, double Albright. So that's not going to work. So last but not least, I'll do it real quick. What we call the simple, the old time. Where am I at, Mike? Am I here?
Up a little bit. There you go. Right there. Perfect.
So we're just going to do a fisherman's knot. So we're going to run it right through the eye. The old faithful. This is the knot that I use most of the time. The other 50%. You're going to twist this thing about 8-9 times.
Yeah, that's what I've seen you do before.
Yeah. We're going to run that right through the loop that's against the eye. And you see that right here where our finger is, we have a loop right here. And we're going to run the tag. Hold on. I want you to see it. Through here. And then right through where my thumb is at. So I'll grab it with my thumb without pulling it out. And we'll go right through there. And then we'll pull that a little tight. And that's going to cinch right down to the lure itself. This is probably an all-around one of the strongest knots. It's called a fisherman's knot. We'll cut that tag off right there. And voila. And that's a fisherman's knot. Now, that one's a little harder to get used to. Let me do it real quick, and I'll shut my mouth this time, and you can see me do it. So, through the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Loop. Thumb. Pull it. Cinch it down. Yank, yank. Clip the tag. And voila. Now, I can do an in-depth on these things, and you're not pulling that loose. Voila. So, that's my favorite knots that I use. The double Albright. When I go, we couldn't do it here. When I tie braid to my fluorocarbon and monofilament, I now use the FG knot. Now, that takes a little time to tie. If you look at Salt
that's
Strong.
the Florida Gators knot.
That's your Florida Gators
Right.
knot. Yeah, if you look at Salt Strong, they have a great video on the FG knot. The things, you want to get it right. That's where I learned this knot.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's absolutely. That is now my favorite mono to braid knot, the FG knot. The double Albright knot is what I used to use all the time, and it worked great. But it left a bigger knot. The FG knot is literally just a hair bigger than the string itself, so it glides through your guides a lot smoother. So that's now my new favorite knot. So the night knot, and I can do a closer video on that, post it. The fisherman's knot and the FG knot are my 3 absolute main go-to knots. So even when I'm offshore fishing, it's a fisherman's knot.
Wow.
And I twist it, 8-10 times, a little extra twist. That's what I use most of the time.
I mean, there's the whole chapter just in these knots alone. Even just hearing you, the phraseology of the words you're coming out of your mouth hole is just really
the phraseology
is intriguing. You know.
I mean, there's hundreds of knots, and fishermen, all fishermen have a knot that they go to, they rely on, and especially if you're offshore, there's certain knots you use to strengthen 10-pound test line up to 100-pound test line.
I'm assuming they vary based on the different thicknesses, and like you say, whether you're monofilament or you're tying braided or braided to mono or.
Yep. When I tie to a hook with 30-pound test line for saltwater, I use 30 plus. I use what's called the snail knot.
Okay.
And it takes a little time, a little getting used to, and some practice. But it's absolutely no stress on there's no knot, so it's really no stress on it whatsoever. So you're getting the full strength of the line. A lot of times when you pull a knot tight, especially with monofilament, you can weaken right at that knot, because if you don't wet it, the friction actually stretches your line and takes 30-pound down to about 15-pound test. So you got to be very careful. So wet your knots if you're doing monofilament or anything like that.
Interesting.
You don't have to wet it with.
It was very good. You can actually see.
Could you see?
Yeah.
Okay. That's new for us, everybody.
Yeah, we're trying something new here on an audio podcast, so we knew we were cutting edge and taking some risks here.
Definitely cutting edge. So
but we'll do more of that kind of stuff, because I think it opens up a whole. I think number one, it helps people learn, and that's really why we're here.
Yeah, that's absolutely why we're here. So that was that was actually pretty cool. I hear that music. I know something good's coming.
It means we got a minute 47 seconds left in the show, Rodney. That's what it means.
Can we use it up?
We can use it up.
You got anything, Mike?
I do. There's a man who went fishing one day, and he looked over one side of the boat, and he saw a snake with a frog in its mouth. Well, he felt kind of sorry for the frog, so he reached down and gently took the frog from the snake, and he set the frog free. But then he felt sorry for the snake, Rodney. He looked around the boat. He didn't have any food, but he had a bottle of bourbon. So he opened the bottle and gave the snake a few shots. The snake went happily off. The frog was happy, and the man was happy because he performed such a good deed. He thought everything was going great until 10 minutes later, and he heard a knock on the side of the boat. Oh, he was stunned to disbelief when the fisherman looked down and saw the snake was back with 2 frogs in his mouth. You get it? 2 frogs?
I get
this
it.
time? Yeah.
2 frogs.
That's good.
Thank you guys so much for listening to us. I love having each and every one of you here. We pulled the Periscope thing off tonight, I think. I think we totally pulled it off. We had a great weekend. I got to see a crocodile. We caught a snake.
Woo!
Woo! This is what the outdoors is all about.
And it's only Tuesday.
If you get a chance, get to the Everglades. It's absolutely a sight to see. Let me know. I'll tell you where to go. Even if we had a little Indian woman pop up on a rock and told us where to go. We didn't even get to that story. So,
I mean, if you ever have an Indian pop up on a rock, you want to listen.
If you have a Miccosukee pop up on you, you better listen to what they say. Because my mama said it 18 million times, and I pray I get to say it half as much. You kids get outside and stay.